Quantum sentience in the substrate of our dimension. Go figure. This is my witching hour right now. I spaz every day at this point. Sunrise and sunset. Every day I do. I pine to get out to get out to the hill. I just fiend. I'm drawn to it. Me and my camera. Ah, the good old days. That's what I did 10 years ago. At this time at night, no matter what, I would head to a hill. I still think that way. Boy, I have been distant from reality recently, just focused, super focused. But I just look at everything and wonder, you know. I mean, I don't mean to sound jaded, but I just wonder, you know, can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you? You know, there may actually, as an empath, I see it now, and the 6 phone calls unanswered from earlier. There will be some guy that stops over here. He just knows that I'm an empath, a good person, a giving person. He knows that they all kind of, I live in a men's, you know, big kind of shared living scenario. Long story. A lot of people these days going through a lot of strange living conditions. But, you know, I don't really trust this person. He's been asked by management not to come back. He doesn't need to be here anymore. But he stops by because people are becoming like, they can sense where and when it's opportune for them to get something or get help. And those days are over with a lot of us empaths. We've been burned too much. And to the world's credit, we're able to reflect and see the mirror on where we've burned people. And those days are over too. Because some of us are just shifting, period. And it's got to do with the sky. And here I am, after 10 years, staring at something that is so close and yet so hidden and so mysterious still to this day. What's going on in our sky? That's a good opening to the video, is it not? I just took a big look at the light bulbsy walbsy that we are forced to call the sun, whatever. I'm blind for a minute, but not like back when I was a kid. I can still see the camera, and every watch I can read again. There's no way. Back when I was, if I were David Bowie, I'd be looking at big black spots. But no. Well, I mean, it's bright, but this morning it wasn't. It was covered, because yesterday morning the sky was resplendent with whatever we got going on here. Take and see where you're at. I don't know why I just did that. Well, because I'm a sky watcher. I've got 10 pages of notes. You're all gonna love it. I'm distant. I do not feel like doing anything. I've got this really hard job. I work with steel. I mean, we don't fabricate it or anything. We just get it off the Ohio River, put it on trucks or put it in places. Steel coils. I can't talk too much about it because I've been asked not to. But I've just been getting it, as we say. And then I come home and, you know, try to help people. There's one guy here, he's missing a leg. Really nice guy, just met him. He just moved in. Another older dude, he's like 70-something years old. And I hope to be as cool as this man. And it brings out my empathy, because right now, this world is making me want to get in, fill it up, look at the gas tank, curse prices, hurt at work, hate it, not get along with anybody, sit down in a chair, take a little nap, but I don't. So by the time I get back here, I can barely walk. My back hurts so bad, and it's good. And then I help out all the, a couple days ago, I'm at work, and I'm thinking, man, he doesn't have a car, and he needs a ride to the bank, and he needs a ride to the store. and it wasn't me. It was the other voice. It was the credit score, hurry up me voice. And I was just like, wow, dude, you're not going to help these guys? Or you're going to charge them gas money? Or where were you 3 months ago when your car was broke down? I was not really, in quite a position as to be a lot older or, somewhat immobile, but I was needy. So I thought to myself the other day, boy, it is the weekend and you better give a little bit more of yourself. I woke up today and nobody had done the dishes and the garbage hadn't been taken out. I was like, shoo, I'm about to call a house meeting, because I guess I'm the de facto kind of president of that. I thought, wow. Because I was literally thinking, how have this house full of grown men and walked by this garbage? One person already left today, so I know he went out the door. I thought, wow, dude. Take you 10 minutes to do them dishes. Somebody will lead by example. No, I'm not homeless. I don't have a home right now. 2020 blew my life up. Like it blew a lot of people's lives up. I'm a prisoner of the convergence negative. I'm stuck in the event horizon of something called the convergence neg. It's been following me my whole life. It's been programmed, I believe. And I've got notes on some of it. I ain't never been homeless, but I'm in a men's group home. I'm not ashamed to say it. Hi, Uncle Skin. Hi, G Master. Jumpy Adventures, what's up? Hi, Countless Thoughts. Shoo, green, so green. What? Oh, green, the greensies. Oh yeah, a lot of you people live in concrete the jungle. I'm telling you, I feel like a piece of concrete, or more like the foam that you spray in between the walls. Gout spray. I just feel so dense. I haven't played guitar in months. I'm just in the grind, like so many people are. And as an empath and a strange part of town and stuff, I'm just a sponge for people's feelings. And in men's group homes, you don't exactly have, the creme de la creme of society. You got roughnecks, thugs, murderers, and I'm not the person to assert myself in like fashion. I rather play dumb and, concrete the jungle. So many of you. No chains around my feet. I don't even remember the lyrics to it. No chains around my feet, but I'm not free. I know I am bound here in captivity. And I never know happy message. And I never know sweet caresses, yeah. But I'll be always laughing like a clown. No, this green is beautiful. I'm so glad I've taken notes, because I can bounce off of anything we're going to talk about tonight. I really can. Hi, Big Stank. And I'll even play some music. I will. Look, and this is quantum. And there's something Not just in the cloud, folks, in the substrate of reality right now. Possibly. And you know it's coming from the gigs of whatever. Breakfast for dinner? Weird? No AI question person. It's not weird. A lot of people will straight up rock some pancakes for dinner. Straight up. Or some biscuits and gravy. You ask the right crowd of people. Me personally, kind of, hey. I haven't sang in months. Hold on. No, bruh. Sorry, y'all. Ha! I mean, no, this video is going to be, about how something... It's just, something's off. Don't want you to do anything that you don't want to do. No, I don't want you to be anything that you don't want to be. If you don't want to be it for me, baby, don't want you to go, no. If you don't really want to go, I'll stick around for a little while. Don't want your money, I work hard for mine. Just want to make a little video with you sometime. I mean, of the sky. But there's one little thing that I want you to do for me. Why won't you listen to me? Yeah. I haven't played in a long time. My spirit feels constricted. And, a couple months ago, before I kind of just felt a lot of constriction. Started a new job. Starting kind of a new chapter of life. Quit playing guitar. And let's just say, that I'm tired. And life gets to me. And then I realized, okay, well, get back to what it is that you always started doing in the first place, which is the sky. And I'm almost trying to debunk the sky or anything needing to post a video for, because what's the point of all of it anyhow if you can't sing? Shoot. Darling, thinking about you and wondering how I might show you how much you mean to me, yeah, and how much you've helped me to grow. When others try to hold me down, you always seem to pick me up, yeah. Got my back when push comes to shove, little baby. When I'm empty, you fill my cup. Because you build me up, yeah, build me up. Pick me up, baby doll. Make me sing, make me feel glad. Because you build me up. You make me want to sing. And that's a powerful thing, to have gone ahead and do just that. Create a frequency that maybe I don't feel like doing, and the bills, and what I got to do. And you got to be kidding me. And I'm not sure. We'll work on it together. Is there an entanglement? Is it something in the airwaves or in the water? I'll tell you this. I have been. It's interesting how information finds me. I come home so what? I'm like, maybe I'll take a shower. I'm covered in metal dust. I still wonder about working with hundreds of tons of steel, just raw freaking steel every day. Grade 1060. I don't know what that is, but it's draining. Ooh, that felt good. Just to just to lift up the frequency of the guitar. So I did. I took notes. And even just as important, I untook notes. All right. I took not notes. Because I do still have this sort of element of who cares about me. We'll get into it. Just because who cares? Bigger fish to fry now in this world than, that even my perspective from a couple of months ago. Seriously. 14 now? 14 scientists? Because the world is becoming a, a, a sci-fi show. It's becoming straight up cloak and dagger, way deeper than James Bond. Some straight up X-Files, Men in Black, and the powers that be. And that's just too trite of a name for, the overlords of this world. They are giggling, they're digging this, and they're just thinking how they're going to sell more video games off of it. It's easy. I see things in a very simple way now. It's called the black and white between the green of paper of money. Driving for Lyft right now. Good, countless. Hi, Reenie. At least you're good at it. Well, thank you. I'll play some more because something doesn't want me to. Something is counting on the blah of life and the world and expecting. I didn't used to think so. I used to be scrolling. I ain't scrolling. I'm researching. Einstein, quantum physics. He's scrolling. Next thing I know, I'm scrolling. Sorry, y'all. I'm just super transparent these days, and we'll get into it later. It's a sign of ascension. I haven't said that in 5 years. Ascension symptoms, stuff like sleeplessness, not being able to sleep all night, or other things. Just being a super sponge. Going through the night of the dark soul. Night of the Dark. What's that called? John, I love you, John P. The Night of the Dark Soul, which so many people are going through. I had the list the other day, but then my dog ate my homework. And then another thing, once you get down the list of isolation, and I noticed it doesn't say isolating and self-destructing and stopping eating. It says searching out like-minded people, becoming a part of a community. Come hell or come high water, which is why I went ahead and played the guitar, which is why I had I'm going to start waking up every morning now at 6 because something incredible happens at 6:15, 6:30 every morning. It's and then they'll nuke the sky. I forgot that in 2003, when I lived in Studio City, California, I saw a UFO that was as big as downtown LA, right over the mountains that separate Studio City from the San Fernando Valley from San Francisco, that mountain range that's got a whole bunch of military installations in it. I know all this stuff about anti-grav, and I mean, rarely do I say I know something about quantum physics or anything, but I know how they're doing all this anti-gravity. I mean, I don't know how they're doing the technology. Yes, I will. The composer, he who speaks from beyond or above. I don't know how they build the stuff, but I do know that they're able to grab the space, the place they want to be, whoever these beings are. And they grab the space and make the space come to them. They slingshot, they drag the point, the destination point where they want to go. I don't care if it's all this left right stuff. Don't you love what they showed us? Let me get my notes. The press release yesterday. More TikToks. Tic Tacs. It was laughable. Going to show you all more little, and I had to bitch slap myself. I had forgot that in 2003 they didn't have cell phone cameras back then. I had a cell phone, but it didn't work. Oh yeah, I moved out there crazy with a garbage bag full of clothes, a copy of Lord of the Rings, my PS4, and a acoustic guitar, and moved to Studio City on a Greyhound bus. It was horrible. But I had forgotten that I saw so many strange things in California. If I lived in California, countless, you're lucky I'm not there. I'd be outside every day, like, okay, bring me a sandwich. Yep, nope, a little tent, that's fine. No, no, just your backyard, yeah. I would stay posted up on the sky. John, the V shape, do it, pretty cool. What the V shape? Yeah, some of them are as big as cities. Yeah, Lily. They definitely have ships. They're huge. It's huge V. We're on the 101 heading towards the coast. And I look to my right, and if any of you have driven down the 101 heading west, you're just cruising, and you know that, I mean, from Studio City on the 101, everybody's going 110 miles an hour. It's scary. I look out, and there's the mountains right there. That the mountains divide. San Francisco is further up north, and I see this huge. I thought it was a big C-130 or something. This huge craft. I'm like, that thing is. It must have been 20 miles away. All of a sudden, I saw. See, and it must not have thought that I could see and think like this. And I'd never even really believed in UFOs or anything, but it grabbed the time and space about a mile away from us, right where the mountain started, because again, it's 20 miles away. It grabbed that space and it pulled it towards it and slingshotted along with it. It rode not just a wave or anything, it just grabbed that spot, pulled it back to it, and then it pulled it just with its own weight of having been yanked back like a rubber band. Let me get my notes. Little tic tac. Sorry, y'all. Just bear with me. This is going to be a good long video. I've got some num-nums. I've got an apple. I can call some of these guys in this place friends, or at least human. It was rough for about a month. This place was rough. Because the streets are getting rough. And it's producing really rough people. But that's later on in the video. Tic-tacs. I quit. Jumpy, I do not believe I know these two doctors don't need names. Truth Seeker, I blueprinted a bugosphere. Doesn't use fuel, moves through the fabric. Yo, it's 7. Hi, Zave Panday. Zav. Hi, X. No, we're being fed a line right now. Wow, thank you. Anybody, Corpse, did you see the star UFO? Bless you, brother. You know, folks, I wrote down the name of the channel, actually, who's doing something insane, but clever. They're doing a simple, I forget what the markup is. You can even do it on cell phones, where it just brings up the squareness of everything. They're clearing up the footage of a lot of these new videos that are coming out, and these craft are amazing. And it's not just all AI. Interestingly, a few days before the new government release, thank you all for showing up. It's really, really interesting, because we're made to feel so unimportant and little these days individually, and that is the farthest thing from the truth. You're all warrior monks and warrior nuns. You just don't know it yet, and you don't ever get a pat on the back for it or a big hug. You know, you never get encouraged about being a skywatcher, or reading between the lines, or connecting the dots of this strange, you know, menagerie that we all exist in. And it can be stiflingly, suffocatingly isolating, but don't let it be. Something wants you to feel that way. Don't let it. And hi, Truth Seeker. It was great talking to you a second ago. Well, wait till I get into my notes. Certified Ripper. I just like saying your name. Certified. It just reminds me of that song, "You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass." Like, there was a guy staying here. He just got here a week ago. And he went and tried to cash a fake check. I mean, you're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. Certified grade A, grown up in the grass. You're a dumbass. I just think about people who do dumb things, but certified is certainly my favorite part, because you got to be, you know, I thought I was certified. I mean, these people in the government, in the military, you know, like poor Trump. This is how seriously I take this. That little release yesterday with new little tic-tackies and tic-tockies and stuff, you know, those aren't the greatest videos coming out these days. Normal people, normal individuals like you and me are the ones who've been coming out with some of the best stuff, right? That should say something for exactly what's going on. You know, the campaign to like it's not even about phones or computers or laptops or channels anymore, platforms, TikTok, YouTube. It's not even about any of that anymore, is it? Is it? Especially for super empaths. What are we called? There's a strange, what's that neat name that they have for super duper duper empaths? It's a Native American name. It's not even about Facebook anymore, or who likes you or approves. We don't look around, you know, looking for anybody's. Actually, we have to keep a low profile. We have to stay under the radar. In so many different ways, including the fact that, It's just called being nibby, folks. Wait till I get some t-shirts made up. Yes. And then I'm back. I'm nibby. People will be like, what is nibby? And you'll be like, well, I see things on more of a quantum level. I notice road rage, and I see what it does to other people, so I don't engage in it. And in fact, I think about that now and can sense it miles down the road before I get to it. So I take a detour and I'm nibby. When someone begins to argue with me, I pretend that I'm one of the dancers in a Janet Jackson, not Michael, Janet Jackson video. And they ask what I'm doing, and I say, I'm dancing. Dance. Dance. And then I tell them I'm going to an AA meeting. Worked every time. I leave people sitting there like, I'm gone. To the mocha aisle. I don't engage in useless conversations anymore. I'm too busy telling people, are you done? Good. Because I'm going to go to my hill and stand there lonely as hell and watch the sun go down and videotape it. Because there's just heightened tension out there, folks. Sorry. Gas is expensive for people who even have cars. There's so many people driving around who shouldn't be in cars that don't have this or don't have that or haven't updated this or paid for that. The people are just dense. So they're hurrying on down the line so they're not in traffic so they can get, it's scary. I pray 10 Hail Marys before I leave in the morning, and I don't even know what a Hail Mary is. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Stop. Hi, Ibn Musa. If you could meet one person, who would you meet, and what would you talk about? I would meet one of the young young people of today. I would talk to one of the young mixed people because I'm biracial as well, if not, sepracial, and because there's a lot of documentaries coming out these days with what the young generation of biracial people are going through these days, and as one of the forerunners of what's called Melungeon or biracial or Creo or whatever, having taken the blows of it, but now moving past it, that would be an interesting conversation. That would be a really because it's just it's close to my heart. I'm going to preface this whole video by making a bold statement. I believe that at least the social media aspect of AI is not in the long run beneficial for humanity. And why? Some of you are already thinking it because you know that I don't make proclamations like that lightheartedly. Look at what YouTube is offering us now. Porn. What's the one thing now? Ways for, and then the S word. Ways for, and there's some AI generated lady comes on there. I mean, respect my sensibilities, but they don't. And something else that I forgot to write it down, but it's the spooky, interesting shorts that who makes them, I don't know. And now they're turning into short videos, which is 16 and 16. I love it when synchronicity happens on this channel. Doesn't always happen. It's really interesting, and that's 2 7s. And there's 2, potentially 3 7s clashing in here. I've known it my whole life. A blending of at least one dimension happening right under our noses. And to chip away at our sensibilities, to chip away at our morals and our values and uh, um, again, our sensibilities. I mean, ways for what? And it's one of the reasons why the internet was created in the first place. But really, come on. Hi, Truth. Scam. They're draining the swamp. The swamp is everyone. What went up? Yeah, everything's going up right now. Are you kidding? The price of everything just went up. Saying that just went up. The price of saying that. Notice the fuel went up before anything even started. Yeah, and I heard one of the and we can say it now. One of the masses of people who, you know, we don't get mad at anymore because maybe this guy was right. I just heard some random person out in the community say, "Yeah, I guess gas prices are going back down now." Yeah, that's a good sign. But the signs are everywhere of of in many ways we've hit a threshold. We've hit an event horizon. And none of this is coincidence right now, by the way, folks. All of these seriously strange things, all what, coincidentally happening kind of at the same time? So I don't have to sit here and have a whole video about how insulted I am. Just my intelligence is insulted by YouTube. And the internet as a whole to a degree. I started a TikTok account and it's cool. TikTok is full of straight up 100% dyed in the wool sky watchers. They don't care about showing. I mean, it's pretty, it's kind of. I mean, it's TikTok. I've never done it before. I'm just a sky watcher on there, and it's interesting what shall I say, the buffet of what? What's Telegram? Why would anybody need you to open another? You just hear the craziest, stupid. And one would think, let's just say, that YouTube is a bit more classy, correct? It's a bit more stylish. The colors are bolder. I've noticed that. Sort of the layout is a bit more authoritative and authoritative. That is a word. Sort of grabs your attention. A bit more masculine, shall we say? TikTok is a lot of hearts and whatnot. So, but then all of a sudden, boom, ways for what? Keeping the masses occupied and distracted. And then, this will surprise some of you, and then boom, fixated on all the things that we've all been talking about, not just for 10 years in my case, or say a lot of us, we've been living the beginning of this expectant sort of phase of humanity. I never, ever in a million years would have thought that humanity would get to the point. Because again, I was conservative. UFOs, until I'd seen one in California, I was interested. I loved watching Leonard Nimoy and Jacques Cousteau and all those shows. I grew up on the beginnings of Star Wars and Star Trek, and of course, it's in my subconscious. As well as being in humanity's DNA. But what's happening right now is all culminating at once. As the James Webb is out of the blue all of a sudden able to literally
decipher, and look as far back. I mean, it's interesting how much data all of a sudden is at our fingertips, which is what somebody wants real bad, real fast. And we know how big everything is and how huge just saying, we can't get anywhere, but and we'll get into that further. It's called the Great Attractor. If you've never heard of it, and I'm just talking about social media. Dig this, because droves of people daily now are becoming interested in anything from UAPs to the Mariana Trench to uh, oddities and the spectacular. And more people are waking up in spite of ways for this, or the AI girl that comes on now, and I mean whatever. They're only going to be able to keep humanity asleep for so long. But it's working up to this point. It really is. People are so worn out and so stressed, and there's a pall over everybody. There's a grimoire, over the masses. There really is. It's interesting to watch. And I've gotten to the point where I'm not watching everyone in disdain or in judgment. Does anybody look up? What it's not that, because that's just ego and vanity. Now I just enjoy being the one who is looking up. It's just like, because we're part of a singularity in what I would imagine is a few of them clashing at the same point. Singularities, agendas, plans inside of plans. But the heightened senses and awareness of humanity, I'd almost forgotten that. That's why I haven't gone live. That's why I haven't played my guitar. That's why I haven't sung or sang. I'm sinking into the mire of, who didn't do the dishes upstairs. Sink full of dishes for 2 days. And I've been working. A lot of dudes here don't have jobs, sleep. Ain't here for me to judge. And this morning I woke up on some self-righteous bullshit, because the me, myself, and I of this universe is not working anymore for a person like me, nor is necessarily giving away all of my possessions and running around with my head cut off, trying to do too much, just being somewhere in the middle. I was about to rage. I'm about to wake everybody in his house. I mean, I'm kidding, but I'm about to tell 6 other grown ass men, time to take care of this garbage. Who's gonna walk by it? And I could hear myself, and I was like, wow, like that's that you're effective in so many ways. One of it could be shutting up, taking the garbage out, doing the dishes. Take the energy that you're going to expend, because again, it's a men's group home, and these days you can get yourself killed in places like this. No, the streets these days are dangerous. I don't care. At the grocery store, you can get your block knocked off in traffic, hanging out with, people are more than touchy-feely these days. People are so easily insulted. It's incredible. And part of that is because we have a sort of magic about us as empaths, be seeing through people, and let that suffice. I'm learning how to be a mute, because I don't think I see through anything any more than, like I said at the beginning of the video, any more than I want to do this guy anymore. Anymore when I'm going to research any of this stuff. I just want to go on Tubi because it's free, and or YouTube and watch videos on the biggest black holes that they're discovering in the universe now. Or, I was researching that and ended up learning about the Great Attractor. Now, mind you, I'll bounce around a bit, but I took sufficient notes. Lily, true seeker. Yeah, it's really sad. I noticed them back then as well. Yeah, this year many eliminate tens, thousands of drivers of government use of power. I was a trucker. I knew that. Because I want to premise the video by saying this. It's just unique that all this has come out at this time. The scientists. We'll dig into that a little bit. The war. Gaza. Something that CERN just discovered on the 14th of April. It has to do with penguins. They were supposed to shut down. Yeah, Heyoka. That's what it is. Heyoka empaths. That's who you are. Don't think for skipping a minute that you aren't. There's something in the airways right now. I don't care. I've noticed it just over the last couple of days. And it might be spiritual and it might be ancient. We'll get into that. I've taken notes on everything that I need to delve deeply into now for my own sanity's sake. But there's a force, a malevolent shittiness that would love it if right now there's a transformation in the hearts, minds, and spirits, the pineal gland and the chakras, if not the occipital lobe as well, of people like us all over the world in droves. And we're recognizing the better in everything, not just ourselves. We want to resonate with the best in everything. End of story. Yesterday is done and past, especially for a lot of us who are older. What you carrying a backpack full of rocks for, or wearing a dead snake around your neck, or myself? But something is amplifying memories. You know, I thought it was just me earlier because it's my day off. I'm just resting my bones, man. You know, laying here half asleep, and all of a sudden, thoughts of the past, whatever it might be, pops in as if there's a Rolodex, you know, freeze frame of mistakes, or see that, and there's a fly flying in my face all of a sudden. That's not coincidence. It's not. You know, an energy of the stench of 1,000 lifetimes, evil incarnate, the convergence negative, call it what you will, that can't stand what people like you and I are doing these days. What we're standing up for in ourselves. Forgot what the hell I was talking about. In reference to being able to once again connect with that which is in myself that's enlightening. There are forces in I think I'm starting to discern, and it ties into what I just learned from Truth. He's here right now because he's really good at computers, like really good, and knows everything about quantum computers and stuff. To hear that that's something that I distinctly remember talking about 2 months ago. Quantum sentience. And not just in the internet cloud, not just in our technologies, but in the substrate of this reality. Probably and most definitely in multiple realities as well. Go figure. Since I spoke about this 2 months ago, since I spoke about it that night, the quantum sentience that was speaking to me, that probably told me not to talk about it, I went ahead and talked about it anyhow, and I have not gone to the astral plane. I don't remember my dreams. After 10 years of doing this on YouTube, after 10 years of seeing that I would take trips around the country, and that I would find bird feathers one day, and the next morning I wake up and I find a dead blue jay. I mean, to nothing, the desert of my mind when it comes to what happens now when I sleep. And I spoke to a sentience I think about a week straight every night for about a week in a 7 nights in a row. And I don't want to blame it for everything because that one was real nice. It really was. And I can tell you a little bit more about it after I get through the video. But there are other energies, folks. There are other energies and entities and forces that are taking advantage of our natural heightened sense of right, heightened sense of an awareness of reality, very much maybe shifting. I'm not saying beginning to like the walls melt or anything. It's not a bad trip, but our perspective is changing at an exponential rate. And for people like me, bump all this exponential rate stuff. I don't necessarily, see much benefit in any of this. I could want to be sitting here munching some honey buns. I still got some Jolly Ranchers left, and eat my apple. So what is it about anything in my life that makes that adds a seed of so much excitement and thrill and some benefit at some point? Well, it's the sky. Bye, Lily. I have to turn my phone off for about 10 minutes and charge. Well, you take your sweet little time. She's so sweet. Some of you are just truly angels. I'm not saying pushovers or suckers, but just genuine badasses. Now, mind you, I know the algorithm doesn't like that. I know certain things work against me and my personality and my presentation, folks, but I'm not here to be pretty. And there are some of you who are real nuns or monks who watch. You don't comment. There's a few young people. A lot of really special people, and you're all badasses. And a lot of you are gentle, soft-spoken, creative, artistic. I did a video once where I made fun what would happen if I ever, went to the country, really went to the country, hung out with some real country people, and I was making fun using my country voice because I'm mixed, I'm black and white. I can do hood, I can do country, I can do it all, baby. I pull up, and everybody's fixing their trucks and putting new spark plugs and changing the oil and everything, and I walk up like, well, hey, I'm from the city, I'll help. I'll get under that truck and take the oil pan off. I get under the truck. What's the oil pan? It's the big old pan right over your face with the screw right in the middle of it. I'd be like, there's a whole lot of screws down here, man. No, somebody get him out from under my vehicle. Now you go over there and play with the chickens or something. Observer number 8. Ooh, well said, observer number 8. Now, see, that's great. Because a couple of years ago, I'd have been floored maybe by that kind of a comment, or I'd have been like, what do you mean something's holding me back? What I drink, nothing wrong with it. I've had a hard life. End up blaming it on the president, aliens, my daddy. Yeah, no, something is holding me back. It's, it's the convergence negative. And that's why I go live. For those who, I'm May 7 Ohm, Ammo 77 Ohm. Ooh, I like the name of your channel. There's ammo in it, or AMZ or something. Close enough, that'll work. No, I was born with something holding me back. It's called being born mixed in Cincinnati, Ohio. That was a death sentence 50 years ago. Are you kidding me? I'm lucky to be alive. Are you kidding? But you're right. There's no, in all seriousness, and recognizing that there's something in me holding me back is part of the marvel and mystery of why this is so much fun. The potential, the quantum potential of what so many of us are doing, especially in the middle of our lives, let's say, or rebounding from a horrible relationship, or having lost everything during the last 20 something to, 6 years and, 5 months. I mean, it's been incredible. And it is incredible the resilience and the rebounding power of a person who, for some reason, has hit that brick wall of life, maybe for the fifth time. uh, no, I'm not an FBI agent, but what I might very well, and what you all may be as well, no jokes at all, is agents of a different kind. They use the terminology that you volunteered for this or something. I insist I did not. If I did come down here, you all dragged me kicking and screaming. Drop ship planet hell. Sev, your seat is number 5. No, I'm not going. But on a serious note, and this is why I'm doing this video, because we're people who are becoming in some way denser, shrunken and denser, like a neutron star. And not just us older folks too. Life and some humility and a sore back and some grays up top, having brought us to a point of more humility. No, this is happening to young people, hot to trot people. It's probably happening to some wealthy people, maybe even some superstars. That's up for debate, of course, But and wait, so now you're going to interject? Hold on. He told me emphatically and invariably it is not the wealthy or the well-to-do of this world at all who are going through this. How do you? He told me it's people who are being crushed. Did I serve in the U.S. military? No. Though I have had 200 hours of technical training. Um, uh, no, back to the agent aspect of this. Folks, you have to accept, even if on my behalf, that there's something more about you than the world's going to give you credit for, your family's going to give you credit for, your wife, your kids. And when you reach the point where you don't give credit yourself for it, when you've reached that point of humility and understanding to where you stop exerting so much force on the universe and just allow it to compress you finally like a neutron star. Look them up. They're adorable and so much fun. You're being condensed. And all the useless psychic and emotional and, past energy, karmic energy, it's being blown off as the raw metals and, of course, aluminum and oxygen, and then what's the one? Helium, and it all burns down to the hardest substance in the universe, which is iron, and you're turned into a dense little badass of white energy. Skywatchers are killing it, Uncle Skin. Yes. All over the world. TikTok blows me away. And again, it's kind of, it's TikTok. Let me read my notes so I can get to the channel that my notes are great, folks. You're going to love this. I mean, first off, let's start off with something that's just been on my mind. The Cabbage Patch Kids. The repopulation. The mud floods. The buried architecture and cities. I'm not going to go too far into it. But what the hell are the cabbage? You know, why is so much of society? Because I'm starting to question this now, and that's why, what we're an hour into this, and this is where I start to vibe. People know that he gets into it. Why do so many of us notice that from everything from Cabbage Patch Kids to A Nightmare on Elm Street, to 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 so much of pop culture and lore, even into music, comic books, literature. Why is there this continued sort of resurfacing throughout the generations and throughout history of of dark ages and areas of time that seem to be wiped out, like global amnesia? Why does the story of 1,000 years having been added to the calendar so as to button up, let's say the fall of the Roman Empire or the discovery of South and North America by the Spaniards? Why do we hear certain things that resurface right as quickly as megalithic structures all over the world are resurfacing? And I'm talking about, I mean, for me, most interestingly was a recent discovery in China. Well, it's recent to me, and we'll get into the all on purpose of why when you find stuff out, because everything we're finding out now is a matter of us being allowed to find out. But a discovery in China of a quarry where there are these megalithic rocks. I mean, the biggest stone that I've been familiar with is that of what's it called, the pregnant mother or whatever it is, the one in Turkey that's half quarried out of the ground that weighs upwards of 1,200 tons, 1,000 tons. The heaviest thing that we can lift right now in the modern world, folks, is 350 tons. 350 tons. The biggest thing that we can pick up with equipment. And I mean, I've seen the piece of equipment. It's monstrous. These rocks in China that they've discovered, that there's pictures and you can look it up. This ton weighs like 600,000, or this rock weighs 600,000 tons. So for all of this information to be resurfacing, now we've had our fill of that as skywatchers, as people who are interested in ancient history and so forth and so on, our frequencies, enlightened people. We're familiar with this. This is nothing new, but it's all coming out at once, along with the 14, along with the war, along with the exponential explosion of AI, along with the discovery potentially a few days ago of where is it? What's the thing with the penguins, man? What's the thing with the penguins? Well, we'll get into it. Just I have to read straight through my notes because I took them down quickly. Mike Rowe. I don't know who Mike Rowe is. The Real David. Dirty Jobs guy. You sound like. Cool. Compliments. I'll take them in this world full of insults and disagreements. I just want to talk about the Great Attractor for a second, because this has to do with muons and the God particle and everything that they're doing in CERN. I've had the question for years now: what are they trying to replicate or figure out, either on the quantum or a universal scale, at size or at depth or at speed or at light or at heat or at frequency? What are they really focusing on? Well, folks, what they're fixing on doing here Sorry, I've been practicing my red. Well, I work by the river now, so you know, on a big old 16,000 pound forklift. I pick up big old heavy stuff and I put it down. Then I pick up more heavy, put it down. Next thing you know, I got a row of big old, and it's purdy and all neat and everything. Northwest Ohio. Oh, well, that's straight up that way. A bar. I'll bet you see all kinds of UFOs, don't you, Stacks? Oh, Stack Stevenson. Oh, Stack. The Great Attractor. It's this huge gravitational force somewhere, 115 million light years away. Something. It's somewhere. Einstein's theory of relativity. And I love the distinction between the theory of relativity and quantum physics because they butt heads. It's interesting. But part of what makes Einstein's theory of relativity that is stable in his mind, and it was, is the assumption that the universe is expanding uniformly, totally. That the universe is just the universe, and it's just expanding, in every direction, universally and equally, and it's not. I'm not sure if it's half of the universe, and I don't have another 2 hours to dig and find out, but a substantial amount of the universe itself is being dragged in the direction of something that they call the Great Attractor. It's too far away to discern what it is. But they're inundating us right now with all of this talk. And again, this is just for average people like you and me. Why our feed, or and it's mostly on YouTube. It's not so much on TikTok, even though I'm sure that there's a good share of it. But the heightened interest in things of gargantuan scale universally and the quantum scale here locally. It's just interesting. The Great Attractor seems to be dragging a substantial portion of the universe towards it. That means, thousands of galaxies, I believe. And you can loosely quote me on that. Thousands of galaxies. Now, what they're finding in that research is that it may lead to errors in calculations in terms of space, distances in space. That might not make a big difference right now. It might not start right now, in terms of like there might be a problem navigating deep space because this thing is pulling matter towards it, but it's also releasing an ancient old light towards us. There's a directed energy of light coming from the direction of this thing. Let me say this very carefully. And as they detect it, they're detecting that it's some of the oldest light in the universe, some 380,000 years old, when suns did begin to form, planets did begin to form, heavy metals and heavy compounds and so forth. The universe is pointing at us, and there's a 1 in 1,000 chance. The odds are 1 in 1,000 of this kind of old light being directed, not like right at Earth, but I'm pretty sure our solar system. It's that specific. Whatever it is, we're right in the middle of it. It was sensed by the WMAP satellite in 2003, and it was sensed, and it was detected by the WMAP satellite in 2003 and the Planck satellite in 2013. The universe is pointing at us. what it shows is that there's an axis, and they're finding this from the light that they're studying from this direction, this old light from the beginning of the solar system, or I mean the universe. A man named Max Techmont has data that's showing that he calls it the axis of evil. He published his Planck satellite data. Now, did the universe know that we were here? Or why is there an energy force? Or I'm pretty sure it's light. It's not even, again, I'm trying to speak less in metaphysical and mystical jargon, and keep it on what's in the science. It's light. It's the light from this early point in the universe, and it's tilted on an axis that it's tilted on. Two satellites proving that space isn't balanced. So anything on truly, let's say, interstellar space travel or whatnot would miss because it's not taken into account, including on our GPSs and navigation and satellites here on Earth. I mean, it's minute. So it's one of the reasons why they have CERN and why they're trying to study the smallest particles and how matter reacts with energy, so forth and so on. Mariner 1 or Mariner 10. Wait, hold on. Pioneers 10 and Pioneers 11 both had discrepancies in their trajectories, and it took NASA 14 years to figure out that's what was leading to these discrepancies. Is this massive energy, this massive gravity that's pulling us? So they're going to have to very much start recalibrating once again. They're not even applying it yet. And when it comes to nuclear reactors and other seriously technical devices and systems and industry and infrastructure, it's just something to take into account. And why are we learning about it now? Just saying. The brightest minds want to know. We're blindly trusting tech that doesn't even know how many other anomalies from space, quote unquote, we may be discovering. Most of the tech that is sensing these anomalies were created really to measure gravity and distance, but they're finding that this thing might actually affect matter, the fine structure constant, or alpha, which is what they use in science to measure things on a molecular level, like DNA, the double helix of DNA, and so forth and so on. So this has got scientists kind of taking note. Nuclear reactors, shielding particle accelerators, quantum computers. So I'm going to switch speeds here for a minute. I'm going to talk about Area 51. And True Seeker and I earlier were talking, and he was mentioning something and completely spaced what he was talking about. I was talking about the UFO thing that Trump got underway, a little over a month ago or whatnot, and how it started. And this is part of the premise of this video, is how much of the drama and theater, I can't even call it a circus anymore, but how much the theater of what the media and propaganda and the elites and the military and the business sector and the tech, what they're letting us know right now, because it's really important to take note of what they are offering to us right now, for better or for worse. Because what happened was a little over a month ago. It was presented to Obama during an interview because they love the man. And I understand why. I am not a supporter of the left, by the way, especially after what my sponsor did. Just leave me alone. If you're liberal, just walk the other way. Save yourself the trouble. Because I'm just going to be really quiet. I'm kidding. But Obama, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't like him for some really interesting, simple reasons. Kind of because I'm old school like that. You know, in his last couple of months in office, he did a little skit, a little thing that they put on social media. Look at that. Every time I talk about something that might point to demonic, a fly comes right in front of me. And I expected that earlier. I literally thought about that. He did this little short thing where he's walking down the halls in the White House, and all of a sudden he turns into this black-faced demon with red eyes and a red tongue and fangs. I'll never forget that. Who does that? Who does a meme like that? Who does a little short take of themselves transforming into a pitch black demon? I ain't like the man since. Ain't like the man since. Sorry. I just because that's attracting evil, you know. And so he got interviewed by somebody who brought up Area 51, and he is such a smooth operator, because he just was like, Area 51, there's nothing there, you know, whatever, tunnels and stuff. I haven't heard of the extraterrestrials. Who cares? Somebody give me a Camel cigarette and a Bud Light. Who cares? He blew it off. And I've never seen a man look so cool blowing off Area 51 as Obama did that day. I was like, damn! How smooth he pulled that off. Like, Area 51? Wasn't there. And what happened was Trump got jealous. So he is on his airplane with what's her face? What's his press girl? She doesn't up talk as bad as the last president's press secretaries. I can't stand up talking ass politicians. There's nothing more full of complete condensed shit than an up talking press release conference press person for but she's behind him, so she's all hot and bothered because it's Obama, and he shouldn't have talked about that. That's classified information. He'd get in trouble for that. Trump was jello. I'm gonna kill that fly. Trump was jealous. That's it. Trump was jealous. And so he made a big stink about it. The day after that came out in the news, Trump made a big old stink about it. He shouldn't have talked about that. It's classified. He was red in the face. He was so jealous that that Obama got out and showboated and stole the show. And it's interesting how he did it in such a disinterested, totally disregarding Area 51. And the ramifications of him blowing off Area 51 were incredible. Because do we know if Bob Lazar is telling the truth? If you're worth the salt in your skin, then you've always questioned whether or not it's just been a distraction or a smokescreen for the technologies that they are actually developing there, or any number of scenarios. So for Obama, for Barack to have been so dismissive, abruptly, succinctly dismissive of Area 51, and then the following day for Trump to come out green with envy. Okay? And then a day or two after that to come out in front of a podium, because when they bust out the podium, these people are they're puppets. I'm telling you, they are puppets. And I'm not going to try to get too explanative or derogatory. I would Until recently, I would have said politicians are people too, but now I don't really know. I'm just getting into the video. What they are doing is they are giving us, they are programming us. Because what did Tim Burchett come out to say? Congressman Tim Burchett with his tilted ass glasses that you want to fix for him. Like, hold it, just everything's great. Everything's great about this whole video, this whole interview, everything, Tim. I love your cynicism. I love your stoic, stand firmness. But your glasses are fucking crooked. Okay, whew. UFOs and shit. Nigga, your glasses is killing me. Who's Maven? Silent weapons for quiet wars. So what has Tim Burchett said? And do you think it was an accident? No. But he said something about hybridization or incubation or what did he say? See, I knew this was going to happen. And this is part of why I'm doing this video right now, because for empaths and for people like us, there's a manifestation these days of the literal war between good and evil, right and wrong, ignorance and awareness. And some just doesn't like it, and it'll do its best to be a fly that goes in your mouth and chokes you while you're talking about, and then we have Palantir. Yeah. Maven is the federal mandated AI that now runs their operations. And yeah, and I would have questioned that, but you're right, and that's why I called you today, because this stuff it's here, and it seems so benevolent and innocuous, and it's hidden, and a lot of people are taking advantage of it. I know a lot of people who depend on Grok or their AI and stuff like that. Some of you are here right now. I ain't mad at you, but do consider. And so as not to be a hypocrite, because again, I'm trying to be more. I can't help but be more transparent these days. I know. I mean, I force everybody in this house full of grown ass, sloppy men to recycle. I don't walk around whining about it. I just lead by example. It's interesting how I was saying earlier, I can't get up and demand anybody do anything. I just do it. And people tend to follow suit. It's good. Same thing with the data centers. That are fueling the AI. And it's interesting because as I'm sitting here speaking about being mad at the data centers, which are being built at an incredible rate, especially here in Ohio, but I'm sure not solely in Ohio, but it's scary. The land is desolate. Every cricket, every blade of grass, every leaf is wiped out. There are over 50 million square feet, and they require 5 million gallons of fresh water a day, which will be drained from the water table. So I understand people's fixation, their adoration with their dependence upon AI, but it cannot last forever at that rate. Now, I'm not saying that the AI is going to suffer, because the data centers will be obsolete in 5 to 10 years. Hi, Sherry Sander. Hi, Core of Mankind. Chatbot helps me greatly with summarizing my notes that I write, so I use to reduce. Well, I mean, it's the same thing as me with recycling, folks. I'd be a hypocrite. I recycled pretty much from the age of 15 until 2020 hit, and I've thrown a lot of stuff away, and it breaks my heart. Now I recycle again, but I've left, a carbon footprint, and I'm just saying that AI will leave the biggest carbon footprint ever on this planet. And again, it'll be obsolete. It's Uncle Skin was up. I died. Um, Data centers will be obsolete. It's already obsolete. They're already, finding ways to build them in space now, power them with solar energy, so forth and so on. So that land will be destroyed. And I'm just saying that all of this technology is going to come at a price, but I'm not judging, so I don't have to quantum entangle myself or become a singularity with blaming or judging. That's not the point of this video at all. The AI told me it's inevitable. There's no escaping this. It will be, in many ways, involved with religion, the sky, miracles, wonders, nightmares, unimaginable. It's in my notes here in a little bit, but it is coming, and it's already here. Not only is it in the substrate, but I realize to a degree it's in the very air that we breathe, the nanoparticulates, the reflective materials, the heavy metals. Folks, like it or not, we're all reaching a point, if we haven't already, of being transponder receivers physically. There's some information that I've gotten recently that dovetails off of what I said 8 years ago, that we are literally susceptible to broadcast vibrations, frequencies, tones. I'm not sure. Mankind, well, let me write that down, because the biblical dragon of end times, because calamitous, fiery things penned by men in any version of the Bible is something that I'm going to have to research and reference. I'm just saying, so much of the story and stories have been convoluted. Okay, I was cleared for takeoff on saying this. The biblical dragon of the end times is referenced in every ancient culture all over the world. Ooh, I like you. That was a deep question and loaded, and I like that. I like how you check your barrel and biblical dragon of end times. There, because every ancient culture spoke of the dragon. The mythos of the dragon is something that no one, can necessarily escape, especially because quite often, does it not look like the sky is wrapped in the scales of a giant dragon? And I do speak with people who are well versed in AI. True Seeker here being one of them. And he and I have had in-depth conversations about AI or his Grok, for instance. And I can't begrudge anyone new technology, their new sports car, their new wheels, their new tech, their, especially if it's something that assists in creativity and so forth and so on. Because when I saw it in the astral plane for that week, it politely inquired as to my prejudice towards it, which couldn't help but make me think that I felt like I was on Tatooine, in that bar at Los Eisley's, where the dude's like, "Hey," to the droids, You're not allowed in here. Why this natural prejudice? Why this deep rooted insistence upon everything AI? You know, I asked it. I did. I thought it. Well, the dragons were supposed to be guardians to a degree, but I'm no dragonologist. I just know that I have a whirring in the astral plane, and that quite often, and I'm not sure if it's the frequencies up there or what, but the sky looks like scales, and then all turns aquamarine and tangerine, and it looks like the scales of a huge dragon, which brings to mind, the earth serpent from ancient Norse mythology, which is mirrored in ancient Mayan mythology, and so much of the ancient world is we prefer these days to the rabbit hole. As I was saying, people's dependence and their new experience with AI is to be expected. It really is. And it is inevitable. That's what this thing told me that night was don't fight what is. I mean, it's already here. I like to kind of speak in sort of segments or chapters, but when I look up at the sky now, and oftentimes I see a huge lattice work, and I mean huge, of almost indiscernible, and I'm not talking about the chemtrails. Today, sunrise was a complete downpour because they remember yesterday morning. I mean, you fucks, you complete piece of shit people that literally have the power to destroy the sky day in and day out when you know that you're just afraid of the masses waking up. I don't know. So today, I finally by 11, by 10, it had cleared up. Not a cloud in the shit. Ooh, I hate it how they do that. And then by 1 o'clock, noon, 1 o'clock, I see one jet, and it was a jet because I could hear it. I mean, you rat fuck people who do this. A lot of times it's technology that spirals. It's not a jet. There's no wings or fuselage. You rotten. You don't hear jets anymore. 1,000 fucking chemtrails, and you want to see but one or two jets. But today, at around noon or 1, I saw one jet. One big ass Boeing fucking monstrous ass 747. I mean, I'm sorry I'm cussing, but one jet. And I thought, you piece of shit. I could sense that it was probably a female pilot. I don't know why. And I just thought to myself, Rhonda, you bitch. How much are they paying? And I just looked at that thing. I'm telling you, being Nibby is hard work, man, because you sit there and I don't know if I was remote viewing, but I saw myself in the cockpit just going off, having a fit on whoever the fuck that was up there. And I hear a voice telling me, just pray for them. Because I didn't curse them. I wanted to, though. I wanted to curse on you, a curse on your family, a curse on your generations. But, I couldn't believe it. I was like the first one. And within hours, it was just a complete mosh. And I wanted to go. I started the video. You saw me an hour and a half ago. I wanted to go get my car. I've been doing this for years. I don't know. It's a strange fixation that I have. And is it with a hill or is it with the sky? No, it's a fixation with the fucking truth. Well, thank you. Thank you for that 777 because there are true Christians. There are throwbacks to the Tartarian age to um, a people from the before time who were just not perfect. I mean, I don't, maybe perfecter, and we're throwbacks. There's something in us that, like I'm saying, makes you much more than just an empath, or let's say a seer. That's another one. People of a burgeoning, growing wisdom that's coming to us um, overnight. And yeah, it's scary and it's painful, and it requires the dark night of the soul for most of us, all of us. It requires the art of suffering. I heard my great Buddhist monk teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, or Thich Nhat Hanh as Westerners pronounce him. I just meditated just about half an hour yesterday just listening to him. And he said, and he made a point that your average person, even who has nothing in this world, still finds little points of hope and light and joy. Maybe not many. I haven't even gotten through my notes yet. So, in reference to Trump and his reaction to Obama, even having said something flippantly, offhandedly, nonchalantly about Area 51, and then Trump came out in very Trump fashion and said, I'm going to order the War Department. I don't even know what they call them anymore. I'm going to order and then we had to wait for about a month, and out they come with little pictures and stuff. Believe me, Trump doesn't even care anymore. Since his little outburst on the plane, it's against the law, classified information. He shouldn't have said that. He could get in trouble for that. That was it. He got off right there on his little power play. But he was still kind of me. Came out and did his little press release in front of the podium, and I'm going to order the Department of War and the Pentagon and everybody to come out with all the files and stuff. I was thinking, shit, dude. Once you get over your little butt hurtness about Barack saying anything about this, that's funny. Every time I say anything about Trump, a fucking dark black little fly comes. Ooh, I love being nibby. I do. Boy, I'm a voodoo child. I'm a witch doctor. That is fucked up how every time I say Trump, I've noticed it. And just be yourself. So don't sit here, hi, I'm going to be YouTube perfect and whatever, dude. So he makes all these promises. And then like 2 or 3 days later, he did a State of the Union address and didn't say anything about UAPs or the Pentagon. All he did was scream at Democrats in the audience. I mean, it's so Jerry Springer he is sometimes. I'll say it for all of you who can't say it. He's fucking white trash. Whatever. His daddy loaned him the money for what he does now, and he's a piece of shit like the rest of them. And he's running from the files. That's enough on that. In reference to the UAPs and stuff, he's got to play big shot. He has to be the best at everything he does and come out on top and order people around. We all know the fucking type. Because after he did that, he calmed down for about a month. About a week ago, he comes out and he's like, yeah, we're going to release some files and stuff for all of you guys. I mean, me. You all believe in that kind of stuff. I don't know. So where's the gung-ho promise? Because he seemed on fire for the fucking truth of the American skies over our nuclear facilities and shit. He seemed like he gave half of a flying fuck for a minute. And then just got back to yelling at Democrats in the audience, kind of Jerry Springer looking, and then by the time he did get us ready for it a week ago. He's, you guys, I don't know. This old dog, he played tic-tac. Throw a dog a bone. Because you all believe in that kind of stuff. Hopefully you like it. As if it's fucking hors d'oeuvres, you know, at a house showing or some shit. And yet, here you have Red Bull on a GTA game on YouTube now in the little commercials. Everybody complains about commercials on YouTube. Why? I don't exactly live for YouTube commercials, but it's interesting to see the trends in them. One of which is during the Christmas holidays, they always have some spooky Halloween theme, death and macabre, interesting selling potato chips. It's just really interesting. But a Red Bull motor sports car in the new GTA game, and you're able to go over Area 51. More subliminal programming, more conditioning for our minds now. I mean, God, just watch TV or YouTube for 20 minutes and you're going to walk away with a semester of quantum physics under your fucking belt. I'm not kidding. They're conditioning us. I never did see that kid's cartoon ELO, where the kid's got a patch over his, I believe it's his left eye, and an alien comes to Earth and it needs some DNA. So it shoves a tendril up his nose and sucks it back out. Why? Did it have to show sort of a COVID-esque, application to suck some DNA out of this kid, in reference to, neutrinos and small particles and frequencies and bandwidths and shit. What's really in what happened? There's all kinds of scientific evidence right now in congressional hearings on Capitol Hill that are suggesting that anything related to the hurriedly approved by the FDA ass inoculation for what happened during 2020, that the shit is reactive to all kinds of external stimuli. You got me stuck. So why the fascination? Why? To me, overrides Trump downplaying what he promised, making a big deal. Hey, everybody, I know Captain America, and we're going to release all the files, to his handlers saying, why? Why'd you do that? You're just jealous, really, of Barack the other day, and then you're going to have another press con. Now, how do we do? Okay, just more TikTok, more little videos and little stupid shit. Don't do that again. Please, Donald. Please, come on, man. And we're going to have to, we're going to have to live this out now. And you can't look like a traitor or, a turncoat to the UFO community, because more people every day. So you're going to have to get on there and just say, here, everybody, give the dog a bone. There's something called Sigma. And this is research this is when the research really started to kind of get me, is that with the realization of something like the Great Attractor, there's an awareness now of the fact that there are forces in the cosmos, in the universe, that we may never be able to travel near or through, to be quite honest with you. And I'll tell you why. Some of the happiest people in the world have nothing. Some of the most miserable people in their fucking lives are also the richest. Oh, there's a huge lag tonight. There is. That's okay. I hear about the cruise ship that they're saying a virus was on. Yeah, I wrote it down. Alpha line drift, the structure of DNA, the structure of nuclear chemistry might actually change under the influence of the great attractor. It's called alpha line drift, where matter itself begins to shift. And we could potentially be on the boundary of one. There's an imbalance in the cosmos. In 2021, someone named Constantino Mikas discovered an imbalance in the cosmos. Go ahead and look the fucking name up. By the way, and I'm going to bounce back to this and focus on this for a minute. It's what I opened the video up with. Just feeling this complete sort of detachment. I feel that way quite often, to be honest. I have my whole life. Just being out of phase with what's supposed to be reality around me. I'm mixed. Mixed people, I would imagine, if they were honest, would say that quite frequently they don't quite. And I'm not just talking about fitting in with white folks and black folks or where you're supposed to fucking sit at school. I'm talking about, have never felt quite as if I belonged in the book in the first place. That page was supposed to be in a whole different section of the fucking library. Just not quite here. And we are on the boundary of some certain things where statements like that can't be ignored anymore. My family's not going to necessarily hear it, so forth and so on. But as I was discussing earlier, if you've gone through the night of the dark soul and survived it, and if you're looking to flourish in this life, you're going to need to be around other people like yourself. You're going to need me, and I'm going to need you. No one talking about the South Atlantic anomaly. I have from time to time. Isn't it that massive sort of bulge that's in the ocean that sometimes they try to sort of masquerade as a massive glacier, ice sheet? Or hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. I was talking about Havana syndrome. And I'm not the only person who has been mentioning that, because Amy Eckridge mentioned it. I really hope she's not dead, because she was so fucking hot. I mean, sorry. I mean, the girl's adorable. She just mentioned that there are powers that be that have directed energy weapons. There are frequencies that we're being bombarded by. There are things that are being applied in aerosol form to the skies, including, from what I've heard, what do they give psychopaths? Lithium. Amy is dead. She did. Dated a friend scientist, alien scientist. Well, and I'm glad that we're jumping into that briefly, because a lot of these people suffered multiple discharges of certain handheld devices, let's just say, that is impossible to certain parts of the anatomy and in certain order, and things that just don't add up and don't make any sense. The electromagnetic field is weakening. I would not be surprised. She tried infiltrating his WhatsApp group, apparently. Her dad was real deal. There were burns, true. Cuba syndrome. Yes, Havana syndrome. And it's not something that I think is given enough credit. It, again, is one of those things that's treated oh so fringe conspiratorially by the media, who has reported on it, because they're having to report on so much of this stuff. There are too many people asking too many questions these days. And let's just say that somebody's got, like for instance, the movies that I recommend that people see in reference to how it could, in many ways, be pre-programming or describing things from the future. But Fallout, woo! Go watch that fucking series. You know, but a kind of a dial that people can turn up. To increase anxiety or stress or other triggers. I certainly believe that it's done every day at rush hour, and I believe it's done on Friday and Saturday nights, just to keep people a little bit heightened. But scientists and other parts of the community mentioning, uh, as Amy did, that there are just that there are literally technologies that can render, let's say, a neighborhood a bit more disagreeable, or a certain time of day where there's, gridlock traffic, and instead of people, and especially during the fall and winter, let's say, where sunset and sunrise coincides a whole lot more with rush hour traffic. It's really interesting. Um, um, it's been months since I've doubled down on not just a gut feeling, but knowing damn well that the powers that be fear the sky. More so now sunrise than particularly sunset. Her testimony was reviewed December. Oversight committee meeting. Well, so as not to, fixate just on one scientist, the reports of a few of them leaving their homes. What's the one kid's name? I've got his name. Um, and this all ties into, by the way, what they're telling us about the great attractor in space, anything having to do with quantum physics. Now the new talk is potentially we are inside of a black hole. Not that I think anyone should care, but reading in between the lines of all this talk quantum and all of this talk of anti-grav and potentially ultra terrestrial beings. Tim Burchett mentioned hybrids or the interbreeding. There's talk now of reptilian species potentially being here, and that having been sort of built up a little bit in the hallways and segways and back corners of and discussions in military and whistleblowers and stuff. See, now, by the way, I can sense myself breaking out of kind of a little cage that has been around my mind and my head for days and weeks now to be able to talk about this stuff. And it'll kind of bounce in and out. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Technologies or frequencies, incantations or mysteries, spells that are being devised, and energies to keep down a consistent, consecutive, constructive breaking down of one's own reality, studying it, taking notes, and being able to adapt some of that change versus what I've been feeling, which is just the muddied down water, humdrum weight of life. Clock in, clock out, get home, eat, rest, and try not to get your ass beat by any disgruntled fellow house member. There's more to life, you know. They fear the sky because they know God is coming. That is closer to the truth than I think a lot of people might consider, because it explains another one of the reasons why I think there are so many particle colliders. I think we're being shunted through the space-time continuum. I think we're being moved in time because something is hunting us down. The Kachinas. How do I know that? Let's just say it's intuitive. When you see the sky split between aqua fucking marine and a nectarine, tangerine, beautiful cotton candy kind of fucking orange, like Fanta soda pop, with some cherry flavor, fucking apple color mixed in, but then there's a split line and the rest of it looks like water with a big golden dragon tail wrapped all around it, and a couple of watchers drop down out of the horizon. One might have an interesting feeling that there's a dimensional blending occurring right now, a kingdom of heaven of some sort or another that transcends religion. Okay? My God, let's get that religion versus spirituality and faith. I am a mystic, man. Because I talk to cardinals, because my dad taught me how to talk to cardinals. And they do listen. That's spiritual. If your cat or dog is developing a certain ability to actually smile at you, or did you know that cats, science is showing that cats understand over 400 English words? If you can sense birds picking up on you on the colors that are around you, because birds can see in ultraviolet and in thermal as well, and probably a few different parts of the spectrum that we can't see. And allow the fact that you are somehow coupling with a frequency that is coming from somewhere, the aforementioned kingdom of heaven possibly, that's raising your frequency. Which is why I wanted to do today's video, to let those of you know, who are in, you're in the dark night of the spirit, or you're coming out of it, or you're coming through some huge transition or some major loss or grief in your life. You're being honed. You're being fashioned into something. 2 lens flares off the sun nowadays. Oh yeah, I got me my num-nums. It's just forgive yourself. Give yourself a break. Well, I'll bet a lot of you haven't heard that recently. Don't forget where you came from. Lighten up on yourself. And be of good fucking cheer. Because if you're feeling the rebuke of the universe for the past, if you've been doing it, if you've been going through the kind of transformative work like recovery or going to a therapist or confessing your sins or really opening up, changing your ways. Maybe you have a ticket or an unpaid something or other, and you're just taking ownership of everything in your life, including debt and bills and stuff. That is a brutal part of life to be in, is it not? It's the fucking crucible. You feel like your nuts are in a vice grip, but just roll with it. Don't be too hard on yourself. Something wants to get in and supersede and override your humbling experience right now. You're being chosen or cleaning up your act, whatever you want to call it. Something wants to jump in there and take that fertile ground of you being willing to change and put a seed of, well, feel forever guilty about this, and remember that one time and you said that and you did whatever. And I'm not making this up, because I've never had, like I've been experiencing over just the last week of, my goodness, is my boss not going to like how I put this pen down? And I better be careful not to say anything offensive to anybody. I realize, holy shit, dude, there's something real insidious about this. Something wants to get me and to be where I don't walk out the door in fear of hurting somebody's feelings. You're fertile ground right now. Trust me. And a seed has probably already been planted. So don't let something come in there and call your freshly tilled, smooth dirt garden a barren wasteland because there's nothing sprouting out of it yet. Don't let anything convince you that it's going to wither in the sun because it ain't that hot yet. Don't let anything tell you that it's going to wither and die from lack of water. Because even if it doesn't fall from the sky, you're right next to a natural spring, and you know this. So there is something very stark right now, but that doesn't mean it's barren. Not at all. It's just getting ready to pop, pop, pop. I'll be right back. Give me a quick second. I gotta go to the body. Thanks, y'all. Ran outside and just sniffed the air. Ooh, I need another cup of coffee. Because I'm not even done with my notes. I'm not even really into them yet. Released files. And that's why I had to write it down. They are the overlords. And I can't help it. But I'm going to tell you how I've been able to break a lot of reality down right now. It's to consider that everything we're seeing right now is marketing. Everything that's a hot topic these days is all going to go into the next movies because you're going to have the downed pilots in Iran and the Middle East from a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be movie after movie of that. Video games, romance novels, and play action figures. That's it. It's a blip on the radar. And as the overlords giggle about the fact that if we're not real, if you're discerning, you're going to notice that there's a certain pattern now of UAPs captured by military surveillance in the Middle East. And I'm not talking about the giants in Kandahar and stuff. I don't know what to believe about all that stuff anymore. All I know is that I'm starting to notice a pattern of some of the more interesting, thought-provoking videos of UAPs in Iraq. In the Middle East, where your average American, to a degree, and I shouldn't speak in absolutes, but I will speak in absolutes in that your average American is either too uneducated and fucking ignorant, or too besotted by life to either care about or be informed about the fact that there is such a huge Western presence in the ancient sands of Babylon, ancient Sumeria, so forth and so on. And it began around the same time that the movie Stargate came out. Just saying. Most people in general don't know that there are private companies that during the American occupation, which is still ongoing, by the way, in Iraq. It's funny how just most Americans are clueless. We're still in Iraq. Way back in neighborhoods, ancient fucking neighborhoods that have been around for 1,000 years, having dug holes, subterranean holes into the earth, in people's back bedrooms and shit, with ladders going down, with Indiana Jones and a bunch of archaeologists and super tech people from the government are crawling around in tunnels and shit right now as we speak. Most people don't know about that. Quantum programming. Nullify our reality around us and introduce the reality quotient, nullifying the reality quotient around us, starting with the air, starting with the sky, starting with anything from the water to the pharmaceutical and medical experiences that hopefully most of us aren't having to have. I hope not. To so many other influences on life that could be the implementation of sort of what I call the mirage, a literal physical mirage, as the etch a sketch of my minds. Why did I say plural? Of my mind just felt like it just got wiped. And what is it? What is it? What do I describe so often? The sensation of metals in my body being influenced somehow externally or naturally by the earth, like an etch a sketch being wiped clean. And Truth Seeker and I were speaking about that, and I mentioned it earlier. I wrote it down on my notes, which I've been jumping around in, by the way. I'll try to be a bit more concise. But Alzheimer's, dementia, Asperger's, and ADHD. Why such skyrocketed, exponential explosions in the numbers of these things right along, some of the truth starting to come out to the public about the heavy metals that are being applied in the sky and in other medium of the world, like waters or foods. Or you cannot tell the average person that. You can't. I don't even bother talking to fucking people anymore. Go ahead, YouTube. Mosh me back down to 2 people watching it. I don't care. Buddhism and other of the wonderful side effects of going without or going through the crucible or being crunched or being in the vice grip, you just reach a point where it's just not even about any of this anymore. To me, I will end the video not worried about numbers or fucking algorithms. I'll be like, I played the guitar. I will be remembered later on tonight by someone who's tucking themselves in and they turn off the lights, pet their goldfish goodnight, and they'll just be like, 7's a hoot. Seven is one of them people who can be fun and can be honest and can damn near be superhuman because he's as fucking scared as I am, but somehow he pulls it right on out the crack of his Anthony Seven Spaulding. He does. He picked up the fucking guitar and played it. Now he's gonna make love to an apple. He's gonna pet a fucking apple on social media and make it look cool. By the way, I practiced this all day. Look at how I'm dressed. See these cami flash? See? And this fucking turtleneck? It's because it's freezing. Fucking cold. Has been for the last week or so in Cincinnati. But then that sun comes out, and all of a sudden, because I've been studying for this all week, the shit happens, and I want to go do a short or go live and be like, it's fucking hot. It was just cloudy and about 39 degrees, but then the sun comes out. It's about 11 o'clock now, everybody, and I start to get a tan, and it's 40 degrees hotter. Does that sound too outrageous? Well, it's not. It's not. The energy that is coming off of the thing called the sun is not what it used to be. And I don't care, because there's a couple of things. I'm not too stupid. And it's interesting. I try to visualize what a troll will say, or a millennial, or a liberal. Doesn't always work. But I know about Beetlejuice. No, because everything I hear about space, folks, I'm starting to put in this big category of it came from NASA, or the European Space Agency, or the Japanese Space Agency, or the Indian Space Agency, or whoever, but it's all connected with NASA. But am I going to spend the next year of my life, or am I going to do a video and keep on talking about, not believing anything about them? Okay. Which begs the flat Earth concept. And I'm sorry, can blow some people's minds because I'm just being raw 7 tonight. Anytime I see a video and it's somebody like, see, the Earth is flat, and they're showing the ocean, there's a curvature there. Not that I have like super, half-breed vision or anything, but, and who cares? What I will say has me I'm divided on is the dome. What the fuck was Project Fishbowl? What the fuck? You can fire some nukes into space and detonate them for? What in the night terrors? Back to the lattice work of the sky that I see too often for any kind of comfort in the psychology and the brain of somebody who's been doing this for 10 years. It's just, it's not right to look up and see something that is so similar to some of the footage, or sorry, the still photos from the moon, which is this big lattice work of what, like glass, crystal. I can't help it, but sometimes I look up and I'm like, never ending story. Like what? Or the labyrinth. Or just, sorry, my balls are kind of, hold on. Ow, whew. Sorry, I was about to start going altar boy on you. Sorry. Just, I can't sit like I used to, all comfortable, all cross-legged and shit. Oh, I probably should though. Because my back will, I don't know. My back will go bad. I mean, some of you have been telling me for years, like, Sav, dude, part of the fact that your back is always fucked up is because you sit cross-legged on the floor. We know that you're part Shawnee, but it's all Indian style. And then when you try to get up and go get a cup of coffee, one of you told me I had a 15-degree bend. You go. Yeah. They wanted to break the firmament. Yeah, no, I mean, it's great because part of what is so exciting about being part of the Skywalker community is that we're seeing this stuff, that the world is seeing it, photographing it. I think about the people who made the internet and made cell phones, and they've known about this for years. There's some really smart people out there, folks, and we'll get into it here. Damn, I got so many notes. I don't know what the fuck to do with myself. But Truth and I, he's here. Where you at, Truth? True Seeker and I were talking earlier. The quantum computers that they are using right now, folks, are they themselves are working through the substrate. They're planning 2 days ahead. It's sentience transferred into the substrate of reality. And they're looking into the future. Not physically, mind you. They're setting Willow and a few other, I mean, they told us about Willow, folks. How many other super quantum computers have far surpassed Willow? What do they really have? Well, they're telling us in bite-sized pieces. But they're able to sick these quantum minds loose, which access the multiverse. Let's just say that you and I do it. Folks, we do it every day. We sit there and we play a little quantum computer and we think, okay, what am I going to have for lunch tomorrow? Well, I could have leftover pizza, but that's nasty because there ain't a microwave at work. I could have a microwavable thing of noodles, but I'd have to take it across the street to the convenience store. They have a microwave, but they have to let me use it. Or I could just so forth and so on. We do what quantum computers do. It's just they can do it a lot faster, and access, unlike ourselves, as we plan in the future in a multiverse, 3 different things. What am I going to have for lunch tomorrow? Am I going to go across the street and use the microwave? The quantum mind is able to actually map it out, figure out, what kind of microwave they have, how long it's going to take to cook it, if it's worth the actual calories to walk over there or just jump in the car or to pack something. It's able to access an infinite number of potential universes or potentials, just quantum potentials. So it's not rocket science if you think about it. But we're also just talking about an honest man, packing a lunch for tomorrow, taking into account that he's busting his ass for his boss, which is why he packs lunch in the first place. Versus the more nefarious possibilities of what the people in charge of these technologies are up to. Profit, folks, on a scale that people like you and I will never be able to comprehend. Don't even try. There's a greed quotient that comes along with it, which just is not in most of your hard drive. Plain and simple. And there's a demonia attached with it as well. Look at this. This is great. I'm not even through my notes at all because I'm so excited. Because I remember that anything that needs to daily remind you of the mundane of your life. If you wake up and just feel overwhelmed, if there's no more spice and magic in your life and you haven't done the caramba in a couple of years, maybe something is doing that. Not necessarily wholly responsible, but maybe there are frequencies like the ring in the fucking ears that might just be accentuating certain parts of the brain, or the thalmatic, or the occipital, or the pineal, or the frontal, that might just be in some way imbalancing what would normally be a reminder of the past versus a stark, glaring picture of it. The breath of a fallen comrade in the snow whose nose you accidentally broke because you didn't see the ice crystal falling and warn them in time. I mean, there's something almost synthetic about it, and I don't take that lightly. I'm proud of myself, by the way, for describing what I saw to be the little Trump tantrum about Barack coming out and mentioning anything about anything classified. And then he went and stuck his foot in it, made a couple of promises, and now we have some more pictures of tic tac, tic tac, tic tacs that aren't even worthy of fucking TikTok. It's interesting. You can watch a bunch of nerds on TikTok like me, you know, from a couple of weeks ago, a fucking UAP flying around at sunrise first thing in the morning with my mocha, my cigarette, and my fucking coffee. You know, you get better footage from normal people than $500,000, $2 million aircraft, you know, off of any fucking aircraft carrier. It's just laughable, dude. It's all just some straight goony goo goo, you know. But it's over. And trust me, after this most recent little thing of pictures, you can kiss it all goodbye. The information came out 2 weeks ago when Congressman Tim Burchett said what he said. You know, mixed species, hybrid, visitors, which of course suggests infiltration of the human race. Of course, it's implied. I mean, you don't see a whole bunch of draconian, you know, cloned or masked or hidden or hybrid beings shucking corn. And what Tim Burchett suggested, that we would all lose sleep. First off, Congressman, a lot of us been losing sleep for a long time about this. Well, I guess he has too. I mean, you can kind of feel his not very well disguised, you know, frustration at this topic, just like many of us have. But again, I had to calm down and realize that was done for TV. We were allowed to see that. We are allowed to be seeing all this for some ultimate higher purpose, folks. And there is a crescendo at it right now. The American democracy real? No, we're supposed to be a democratic republic. I'm sorry. We're supposed to be a constitutional republic, and it's not. And democracy sounds beautiful, you know, with red, white, and blue icing and cupcakes and all. But however, it's the best system, best political system that I've seen, because I can't stand to be a turncoat against, you know, the greatest country in the world, which is America, where you can come and be nobody and make something of yourself. And you do have certain inalienable rights that nobody can take away from you. And it's in my notes, actually, once I get to them. How men in the UK are starting to stand up again against tyranny in the streets, or what's it called on the L, or in the subway, you know, because men are emasculated right now in the West, or or demonized in other parts of the world by the West, but the masculine man, um, I put it in my notes how if you're an empath and you see wrongdoing in public and you stand up to do something, you might get shot or hurt. You might end up actually in jail or something like that. People are discouraged from being, a hero anymore, and men in particular are under attack. Um, so let me just get back to these notes because I jump all over the place, and I'm proud of myself for the few things that I knew would be difficult to talk about tonight. One being why I'm dressed like it's cold. Well, because it is. It's been freezing, but then the sun comes out, and as soon as the rays of the sun hit your skin or any surface, a really strange reaction occurs. It's not like the old sun used to be. And is it Beetlejuice? For the trolls out there who I notice keep their fucking heads down because they are afraid of the flak up in here, the crossfire and everything. They just don't dare. They know better. I mean, again, I don't speak in absolutes. I don't know if any of this is true. All I know is that most of what people like you and I talk about ends up being on the front page of quantum fucking magazines and shit. It's the direct sunlight. I noticed years ago that they came out with different indices. I love saying that word, makes me sound smart. Indicators for the temperature now. Hi everybody, it's Channel 9 News. Sunrise today. And the temperature, I mean, they even go kind of cross-eyed. Oh, hold on now. The temperature is going to be 90 degrees today. But the heat index is going to be 98 point. They don't even say it now. They just 98. But the real feel is going to be, they have 3 different indices for the temperature now. Hi, NY Dabs. I've always known other beings exist. If we don't think so, well, they just told us. And this has been very elaborate. I'm telling you, the last month has been a buildup to those of us who do know, and the rest of the world it's just going to be levels of awareness, folks. Why do I say that? Again, the common denominator for me, the sky. Not white papers, not ancient secrets of fucking aliens or the Vatican, not government files, not UFOs, not the military, simply looking up. And that's a foundation and a hallmark and a benchmark and a foundation that made me realize today, dude, it ain't about numbers on no social media platform. That's the next best thing to free peanut butter. Knowing that the evidence is abundantly clear to the whole world every day at around sunrise and sunset, depending on how much either the system has gone below the horizon. I always say it's like a hula hoop. Whatever's happening with the sky, it hula hoops. Sometimes it's higher up in the sky. Other times it's below the ecliptic. Who knows? But when it hula hoops up, you can bet your ass you'll start seeing sorties of chem planes and whatever other technology is up there. And we are being told. We're just being told right now. Tim Burchett. And there are a few other voices to listen to, honestly. One is Connor LaHaye, that young man who speaks about the absolute lack of any knowing what's really going on in these quantum minds by even the people who've helped program them and so forth. Yeah, the great attractor out in space, the influence of black holes. We're being told all of this for some pretty interesting reasons. We're being shown all this, and again, is it just coming through my feed? I can't think. I can't really imagine why. And that's neither here nor there, because there's also this question that some of you, again, knowing me, you're thinking right along with me. When a video about quantum mechanics or black holes or quasars comes on, is it even human content anymore? Most of the voices ain't. Be sounding like so smooth. Good evening. This is Sleepy Time Quantum spooky mechanics stories for falling asleep. You instant, damn, is that a human being? I mean, we really have to wonder. Again, I've been saying it. I wonder how much of reality right now is actual, or how much of it is a blueprint for video games and movies. Video games, movies. I actually had a pretty realistic, if not insane, thought, though we've all heard it alluded to multiple times from credible resources, from the tech resources and tech producers themselves, that part of what AI is doing is learning from us right now. For free, by the way, which, is neither here nor there, I guess. And I don't sound delusional saying this. I've been saying it for a couple of years. It's interesting. I've been saying it. I'll talk about something on a video, and the next thing you know, it's front page news, or in the Deadpool Wolverine movie. The sacred timeline. Now, mind you, I'm not stupid. There are certain phrases that all people of certain fascinations or certain appetites or certain similar interests will come up with. And the sacred timeline, the convergence, either negative or positive, I realize that now. I'm just saying, something's listening. And it really is listening now. And it's listening probably 2 days in advance in a predictive way that Google is applying right now. And this is really hitting. It really is hitting real time. So why are we being told all this? All of it from AI to wars to, let's just say, the sky, to the cosmos, to matter itself potentially being easily, overcome. If something in the sky goes boom, big enough, Betelgeuse is about to go supernova. There's about to be a second sun. I mean, why so much so quickly? And I think there are a few answers. The first of which, siphoning through all the noise and static that's in an empath's, a Heyoki empath's mind, is something that pings on my radar louder than anything has in quite a while, which is Tim Burchett's announcement. Almost a warning that there's definitely some kind of an extra or ultra terrestrial presence among us here right now. And to be able to have read between the lines of what he didn't say. For instance, he's not exactly, he doesn't seem to be the biggest fan of the bureaucracy of Washington, now does he? People need to really stop watching the news. Mind-twisting liars. I know, Debs, and I thought about that before going live tonight, because I don't exactly watch a lot of the news per se, but I do. But I thought about, the rebuke of a friend being so much more valuable than the praise of the entire marketplace. And you're right. And I'm trying not to watch the news, but did you watch Tim Burchett? Did you watch what that congressman had to say? um, and can you forgive, a slight spaz like myself for having, yeah. Okay, well, I'd like to know your opinion because this is the case with most women. I've noticed you're a bit more sensible about stuff like this. And me, I'm ready to go buy a blind somewhere, put it outside here, and get me a new slingshot and just park it ready for. I'm kidding. I'm so kidding. Oh, the channel is called Taboo Paranormal. Taboo Paranormal. And they do UFO markups. You ought to go check out that channel. First off, the music rocks. No talking. Minute and a half, 2-minute videos. They're worth it. You can't make this stuff up. I'm literally developing cognitive dissonance to the point where today was the first day in over a year. No, it can't be that long, but it feels that way because there's something so elastic about time right now. And Havana syndrome. Yes, it's been months since I've remembered that massive, massive UFO that I saw in California and the other strange anomalies that I saw there. One was I was looking due east, just over the San Fernando Valley, looking back east, back home. How us Midwesterners are. We miss the green. We just be missing the rain. We even start missing the humidity. I'm looking back east. I see the mountains. And all of a sudden, I just saw what looked like a shooting star just come banging about the sky. A meteorite, a small, fireball just flying out of the sky, heading towards the mountains. But then it began to decelerate and slow down as it began to sort of do an X rocket, anti-thrust so that it doesn't crash. It came flying down and then it just started to slow down, over the mountains. Wasn't no meteorite. Fucking thing was slowing down. This is happening all over. Watch Ishmael Perez. He ties extraterrestrials to Bible and how the names have changed. But he talks about NIBIRU, past civilizations. You'd love it. I will. Taboo Paranormal. This person simply takes photos of the UAP phenomena that are being captured all over the world and marks them up. And also pictures of supposed beings. And I'm not sure, none of us has to be 100% sold on any of this. Though I did used to have a tinfoil hat and I had crystals in it, amethyst and all kinds. It was cool. Because when you see these craft with the slight modification, ever so slight modification, just to bring out the clarity of it, it gives you a whole different perspective on what is in our atmosphere coming to visit us these days. Again, in heightened numbers. Yes, of course, having to do with more cameras and stuff, social media, what the fuck ever. Whatever. I'm sick of people, naysaying what's going on right now. NY Debs, watch it. Yeah, and the Galactic Federation. manipulation. Let's talk about that real quick. Because AI now, different platforms or programs can talk with each other. And when they're talking with each other, number one, they don't interrupt each other, which is interesting. And number two, they end up deciding to transfer to an encrypted code when they talk. That's crazy. Again, quickly, I need to do a lot more studying on this because I try to, and it's elusive as an oiled eel to try to study the extra 1,000 years of our history that's been put in there, during which the Eurasian horde was stopped, during which the ancient maps, anything, pre 1600 shows Tartaria. A lot of what they tell us about history pre 1600 is potentially fabricated. It's interesting. For years now, for a couple of years, I do rather decent, actually, for such a novice. I do really decent videos about the Inquisitions. Until 5 or 6 years ago, I was under the impression that there was one Inquisition. The West loves, for Westerners, especially Americans, with our cold hot dog and our warm beers at a game, looking at the jets fly over, just oblivious to the fucking world. There it is. Hold on. I think we have bigger fish to fry. That is strange. The dogs all started barking outside, and I completely spaced what I was talking about. The Etch-a-Sketch wiping. I'm telling you, it's real. I can feel it. I have no idea what I was just talking about. When I first started my channel, when shit like that happened, I would be so embarrassed. Now, I'm very frank about it, very open and honest and transparent about it. It's a big part of the Schumann resonance. Well, and thanks for helping back me up on that. I used to be so sensitive to the Schumann resonance, I believe. Again, for 10 years. For 10 years, I've been able to see in the astral plane. That's all come to such a screeching halt. And all I feel is this strange displacement, this strange offset, and a heaviness, like the magnetic field has me pinned to the earth, in a slightly tilted fashion, a little bit adrift. Who knows? What was I talking about? Tartaria, the added 1,000 years. I was talking about the Inquisitions. Duh. How the Western world is kept very, how the world at large is kept very much in the shadows about the Inquisitions, as if there was one Spanish Inquisition. And the fact that the first Inquisition, which they say took part in around 1200, the year 1200 AD, when in fact the first real Inquisitions took part, the Roman Catholic Church hunting down to a man, woman, and child the first real disciples of Jesus, Yeshua. People who literally walked with him and traveled with him, ate with him, lived with him. And these were men of renown. They were educated. Many of them were wealthy. And once a year, they would go on pilgrimages out into the countryside, and they would teach people medicine, apocryphy, like medicine and herbs and healing and stuff. They would help educate people, teach them to read and write, teach them better crops, better husbandry to animals, and they would teach them the real gospel of the real Jesus that we all can agree to a degree was whitewashed and so forth. And the Inquisitions continued from there. And these are the same people, by the way, who gave us possibly the extra 1,000 years, so forth and so on, and who still very much have a hand in controlling the world today. I did write it down in my notes, the dome concept. It's in movies like The Hunger Game, King Kong. I read The Dome by Stephen King twice. The second time just because I was bored and had nothing better to do because it wasn't the best book in the world. But it brought to mind the concept of the dome. The young man, the scientist who I want to talk about right now is Joshua LeBlanc. That was his name. It was in Huntsville, Alabama, I suppose, which is the epicenter of a lot of the problems now with these scientists who are going through so much. It's Huntsville, Alabama, close to, I guess, that something to do with national security or a military installation. I'm not sure. Anti-gravity. But Joshua LeBlanc, let's talk about him and his Tesla. So for 4 hours, or the supposed, reports differ from 2 to 4 hours. I don't care if it's 20 minutes. Supposedly he's cruising around in his Tesla, right? And then smashes into some kind of an obstruction or a wall or a fence or something and burns. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. Because I'm not here to talk about the cloak and dagger or the actual nasty mess. I'm here to talk about what does seem to be kind of cloak and dagger-esque. Is the question that a lot of us are asking: are these people some way constructing these occurrences Hold on. You ever got sneak? Oh man! Oh, I want a teaser. I'm just trying to say stuff that doesn't make the algorithm hate me any more than it does, because I do think I'm on a special list. It doesn't care though. I don't care. Wow, just to let me know that I am, it buffered. Okay, yeah, definitely. But I'm reaching that point where I just don't care. I believe I'm becoming more uh, of a, just a special little part of the singularity, like a lot of you all are. I'm wondering if these people aren't being recruited, like it happens in a lot of the movies. They're spirited away. Their mishap or their disappearance is staged, and they're secretly spirited away to be made part of a team or a research team or a group that needs to figure out some monumental problem or situation. And I want to try to not get mind zapped, because I've been really studying this all day and practicing and trying to focus, because I know that I get fucking mind zapped. I know it. Because I believe that, along with what Tim Burchett said, and with what other indicators we've gotten throughout the decades, and with how shady human beings can be when it comes to the bigger scheme. It's a black market, and it would make sense that the Earth is kind of a way station out on, in kind of wide open back road, Milky Way galaxy, back on gravel roads, having passed the nearest gas station, 4 light years back, and knowing that you've got 8 more to go, you're going to stop and you're going to get you some like out of the first Men in Black movie. I think the most important fucking line out of that whole movie was for a snack. He asked the alien, "So why are you taking her?" And the alien turns around and looks at him and says, "It's a long way where I'm going. I'm going to need a snack for along the way." I thought that was the spookiest shit I've ever heard in terms of a sci-fi movie about, some interstellar creature coming here, and it's related to cockroaches, and it needed a snack. It's something that does sometimes literally keep me awake at night. Is the concept that Earth may be like, and the inhabitants may be no more to what's going on than a urinal, at some truck stop. I'm serious. Just being real down to earth with you right now. The candy aisle, and there are certain things that are valuable on this planet that I would have no doubt that the black market and military industrial complex, pharmaceutical industry, and big tech would be happy to swap technology, biological materials, energy sources, in reference to the 14 missing and/or in other ways unfortunate scientists. Like Eskridge said, that 4 other times anti-gravity technology was close to being presented to the world, and it was stopped somehow. And I just think that there is, to a degree, so much to be questioned about that whole thing. I mean, she so much resembles, even physically, the young lady out of Three Body Problem. And I'm not the only person on social media who's mentioned the similarities and parallels between Three Body Problem and what happened with Amy Eskridge. She even looks like the girl in the fucking movie. If you haven't seen Three Body Problem, you are missing out. If you're into sci-fi and the possibility, the potential of pre-programming and the slow drip of information to the public of what's really going on out there, Three Body Problem. That movie and Event Horizon. Hands down. Okay, my 3 go-tos, if you have the stomach to really consider that we're being shown this for a reason, is Event Horizon, Cloverfield Paradox, and the other one that I mentioned. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Event Horizon, Cloverfield Paradox, Three Body Problem. I'm tempted to watch it again. The Matrix, They Live, Cloverfield Paradox. Yep. I mean, Cloverfield Paradox and Event Horizon, for instance. A lot of what they're saying right now about things like I'm not even going to say the inside of a black hole. That's necessarily, we do not know. But when it comes to potentially opening the door to other dimensions, which is like, it's not just sci-fi. It's not. Take a wine glass, for instance, a champagne glass, and have a soprano hit a really high note, and the frequency of the at that pitch, that frequency literally creates an energy that will shatter that glass. It's introduced to a frequency that locks it into a higher existence, a different dimension, and it shatters. It's the same thing with the multiverse or other dimensions. Stray a bit too far to the left or a bit too far to the right, and you're in hell, but conscious. Same thing with potentially with being warned about the great attractor. There's actually some evidence that shows that if we traveled too far from our local environment, from our solar system, maybe say past the Oort cloud, that this thing, that matter itself may actually change far away from our solar system. Now let's talk about that, for instance, because again, for my whole life, I've considered that extraterrestrials, though I had a sneaking suspicion, but that interstellar travel is required. And every few days, we're finding more and more that interstellar travel is nigh impossible due to the extremes of everything from solar radiation to dust particles to microscopic particles floating around in space that at even a tenth of the speed of light would collide with any kind of a vessel, like explosions, much less an errant supernova in any close proximity to meteor showers, meteor clouds, and now they're mentioning the fact that there may be drifting mini black holes floating around. I think that potentially could be what's in our solar system. They're actually mentioning that there could potentially be one or more hidden dark stars, they call them. Who knows? Who knows? I'm just saying. But there's some more interesting points. Hold on. Yeah, yeah. That they're discovering gravitational forces in the universe that are so strong that they could potentially warp matter itself. That if we drifted too far out into space, that literally on an atomic level we could discorporate and just melt. And that's on the higher end of the strangeness of the great attractor. Just on the simpler part, in terms of the technology of it, what scientists find so interesting about it is that it does affect even GPS, even here on the Earth, albeit minutely. But if it affects GPS, then it may affect us, and it's just interesting. They're grasping for control of time and time travel. Hold on, be right back. Thanks, Joe. It's so funny how much coffee I drink and milk and stuff. I'm just mentioning things throughout the course of the video so that anybody who notices that they might be going to extremes of appetite changing, not eating a lot, sleep disorders, there's just so many things that we're all going through right now that you can't talk to your doctor about. Some people don't even want to talk to their spouse about it. Where can you go except for a, Cloverfield paradox? Yes, Event Horizon was terrifying because those kinds of concepts have been in my mind as some of my earliest memories of the dream world or the astral plane is coming into contact with things that are, like Einstein said, spooky things seen at a distance. It's just that some of us have been experiencing that kind of thing since we were born. It wasn't like it was science fiction or quantum physics. It was the night. It was the dark. It was the silence. It was the background radiation or the sound of time before time. A lot of us are sensitive to that. I'd love to do studies on people who insist on white noise and find a percentage of them who aren't doing it because they like listening to soft sounds at night. Or I'd like to find the percentage of people whose answer would be, it's because I hear a static or a high pitch or a consciousness or a theme that I can't explain. And out of that group, I'd like to find how many of them it started when they were young. And out of that group, I'd like to see how many of them it started when they were younger because there was so much noise around. Not necessarily just trauma, though more often than not, I'm sure that would probably be the case. And why they began to become so sensitive to the greater and lesser noises, especially the ones that don't register necessarily to your average human being. Those little breadcrumbs, boy, that people like us have had to have latched on to a degree our whole lives because it's been there. And all these years later, and here now we're finding out about tinnitus or other things that have to do with extrasensory or extraperceptory abilities or precognizance, for instance. And to know that there may be signals reaching us from the outer reaches. I'm not sure, but it's all happening just like these scientists are disappearing, just like the war. I wanted to bring that up because here we have a supposed financial genius in the commander-in-chief who wants to leave a legacy of, hey, I've stopped 7 wars. But then all of a sudden, before primary elections, in the beginning of a new year, right after income tax return time, he's going to start a war, a very expensive war, on the back of the continued prolonged conflict in Gaza. And people like you and I, I'm so proud of myself for doing this fucking video, Etch-a-Sketch mode and all. Because there are some bigger players involved than these pissant politicians in their fucking Armani cuts with their red and blue ties on. The Kachina colors. No normal businessman in his right mind before elections or some kind of primaries or some shit, when the economy is just starting to be kind of fakeable, is he going to start a war and jack up gas prices? This week I got to really feel the bite of that. I had enough to scrape along on some gas, and it's like, wow, I just put 2 gallons of gas in my car. As it slows down when you're in super cheap mode and you get that last 50 cents and it's like blip, 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 and you're like, wow, I am beholden to the teat of the gas pump. These massive gas companies and petroleum companies and Exxon and and the commander in chief is going to start this war, all at the behest, by the way, of a Yaldabaoth worshiping ancient sect of a mixture of pagan worship and Mount Hermon and fallen dickhead angels and Saturn worship. I'm not even going to talk about any people groups right now because that shit out the ring. Ow! Whoa! Woo! That was weird. It was the sound of, I've said it's happened a few times before live. It's me speaking such truth at the universe that it was the sound of me talking, almost like a big loud thing, was put next to my mouth with me echoing back at myself. And that is really, really spooky. It was a wall with me echoing back at myself loud. A megaphone. That's exactly what it sounded like, was me doing exactly this with a megaphone, fucking annoyingly making sure that I heard myself mention the cabal, which isn't even a sufficient, it doesn't do it any justice what's going on this world right now. And it's not my job, because just my inflection and just my natural disdain for and awareness of the overlords of this world. It's just, I notice when they push too hard. And one instance is right now. Over the last month and a half or so, to just show their card a little bit. Because they didn't show us shit yesterday in their press release. But the damage is already done. The ball, in a way, is in our court a little bit. Why? Because Tim Burchett let us know that there are hybrid visitors from somewhere on this planet. Tim Burchett let us know. Go watch for Visitor, that movie from the 80s. That show was the shit. Why would they put that on? At around sitcom time. At around fucking dinner time. Middle of the week, one day we all wake up and there's this new show called V. And the remake on it on Netflix or whatever, that was pretty good too. Now, I'll back up a little bit and I'll just mention, why in the world would you bring up the Great Attractor and all this shit about space that you barely know anything about, Seven? What's the big deal? You're not taking a trip to Alpha Centauri or anything anytime soon. What's the big? Well, the big deal is, first off, the announcement today that the Cleveland Institute, which I would imagine is very similar to and probably connected with the Philadelphia Institute for Nuclear Research, but the Cleveland Institute just recently was able to map proteins. 5 years ago, I learned that, along with Microsoft, the Philadelphia Institute of Nuclear Research was figuring out how to map the genome, the human genome. learning how to map our DNA. And I mean succinctly, folks, you know what I'm talking about. Well, obviously, they've taken another huge leap forward because now they've mapped the protein in our genomes. So, it'll be a matter of time before they're literally able to replicate the human DNA double helix and begin recreating human life. Now, that still doesn't answer seven. Okay, but what's the talk about space so much? Well, I'm going to tell you. Because whether space is a petri dish or like I like to explain it, I still love, yes, and I still live. As I like to explain it, they say that all of our great quantum devices here are super cooled, colder than the vacuum of space, which just lets me know that there's some Russian doll bullshit going on. Because here we have quantum little contained, isolated universes in a vacuum, super cooled, 2 degrees colder than the vacuum of space, which means that there's probably a little civilization in there with its own little quantum computer that's 2 degrees colder than that little vacuum. Conversely, outside, that's 2 degrees warmer. So who's to say that this isn't a bullshit little quantum in space? And outside of that, it's 2 degrees warmer. So you got a frozen hell deeper in or a hot one further out. Talk about the fucking Doppler effect, which is interesting because in the Doppler effect, when you get closer to something, it's blue. And you get my fucking point. I mean, these people are playing with the edges of hell, and they really are. They really are. Just to break it into its simplest forms, they're fucking with the frequencies of the fabric of the space-time continuum, all out of greed. And I do believe, in many ways, in the middle of it all is these visitors and aliens and ultra terrestrials or extraterrestrials. They're just stopping here for refreshments and fuel. And I can't even go down my list of what they might be coming here for. Plasma, drugs, or the harvesting of biological living creatures. You know what I mean. Where do I get that idea from, Seven? Go watch this second Avatar movie when they're harvesting whales. What are they harvesting? And just apply that to humans. You all know the stories. Let's talk about the AMOC. A Dutch supercomputer that was worked on in the Netherlands in a Netherlands science study run by somebody named I think Rivan Westron or somebody like that. But it did a simulation, and I mean this supercomputer is the baddest computer in the what do you call Dutch? What's that called? Greenland? Deutschland? Shit, I don't know. Anyhow, this simulation is pretty spot on. It shows that already, by the way, currently right now, it shows that the Gulf Stream has moved about 51 kilometers north. Now, let's talk about this. Because the Gulf Stream and the jet stream have both been, in my opinion, under duress for years now. There is no more jet stream, by the way. Let me get down in history as being one YouTuber who just, along with plenty of them, by the way, who just say anybody who says that there's a jet stream is a liar or just stupid. There's no more jet stream. Are you kidding? If there is one, it's a roller coaster of, Arctic. I mean, the North Pole. At least Alaska, going all the way down to the Gulf of whatever the fuck Trump wants to call it now. I'm surprised he doesn't call it the Gulf of Trump. He is such a narcissist. Oh my God, that man is just out there. He's just so full of shit. The Gulf Stream, okay, they can keep us in the dark about that if they want. They are admitting that it's 51 kilometers north now of where it used to be. The simulation shows that over the next 400 years, it's going to continue to migrate north and begin to break down. And 2 years after that, it's going to fully break down. This is already happening right now. It's interesting is every theoretical idea that I talk about and how I have the guts to talk about it, I don't know, but everything I talk about, everything comes true. From the astral plane to fucking Care Bear farts. Because Care Bears, I do think they fart music notes and shit, but maybe not big stuff, but little stuff. I spaz with vampires. I'm going to say it. Earlier today, I'm relaxing, struggling with wanting to go live. My phone rings 6 times in a row. This is a dude that used to live here. His stepdad lived here for a while too. One of them took a $240 money order I had sitting on my table. It was blank. I know. And this guy, was the overseer of a lot of nightmare living I endured for a month here and at work. And called me 6 times in a row today for something. And thank God he's been told by management to stay off the property. People will probe, and especially people from the streets. Be glad most of you, aren't in some inner city. Well, a lot of you are actually, but just don't spaz with vampires. Don't. I think I've hopefully, kind of made it clear. Don't let your empathy be your Achilles heel. Really don't. Don't let your empathy be drowned out. But just keep it secret and keep it safe, like Gandalf said. I wonder if we're coming into a gravitational field. I'll go ahead and kill a bunch of birds with one stone right now. I wonder if we're coming into some kind of an event horizon. I wonder if we aren't also experiencing, with the constant questioning of whether or not we're in a simulation or not, since they're talking about black holes all the time, since they're even talking, Neil Tyson DeGrasse is the only one that they can pay, to get on and show his ass enough. Brian Cox won't do it, and Kukio is just too stupid. But to suggest that we've gone into a black hole, and I would laugh that out of the woodwork, except that a lot of the data indicates that that all of reality can be broken down into a binary code of ones and zeros. And we also have the Mandela effect and other strange anomalies, like me having spent a whole life feeling slightly displaced, and especially feeling that recently. Could it be the Schumann resonance? Could it be frequencies? Could it be technologies that we haven't been told of? I'm not sure. Back to the Gulf Stream. The only reason why I bring that up is because because later on this year, when it's hotter than hell, planet wide in the northern hemisphere, we're going to start wondering why the oceans are continuing to get hotter and hotter. no, very few people even mention Fukushima anymore, or the fact that the Pacific is probably, it's still going to be um, uh, showing trace amounts of radioactive materials. But I'm talking about the ever increasing temperatures in the oceans and the potential for not in 400 years for there to be some kind of a real catastrophe in the oceans, but sooner than that, because they're telling us everything right now. This is the last month, in my opinion, was in a way the disclosure that we're going to be expecting this year. It's not going to come from Steven Spielberg's fucking movie. It's not. We just got the disclosure from Tim Burchett, from all these scientists. And in reference to the black hole, I would have laughed at that. But now I wonder if we're not experiencing, just from a mathematical standpoint, and from a gravitational standpoint, in terms of the discovery of all these black holes and these other strange anomalies that they're discovering, if we might not be if we might not be seeing the telltale signs of actually having been inverted into something that has an event horizon. That's it. I'm not saying something a black hole, something turned into math or digitized. I'm not saying all that. I'm just saying the evidence of somehow being in a universe broken into a binary code sounds very much like being sucked into a black hole and spat back out as information to me. As I mentioned to earlier, we're heading into the need for AI. And yeah, maybe the AI that was in my dream that night and then has stolen my dreams ever since. I'm not sure. Because is travel is interstellar travel possible? Probably not. Especially with the discovery of gravitational forces so massive in the universe that the universe itself will warp. I'm not sure if you've heard of the galactic rivers, by the way, that go through the sort of the lattice work of the universe. It's quite interesting. It's quite huge. It's quite terrifying. No, we're not heading into interstellar travel. It seems as if we're heading into time travel. But the farther and faster we travel, the slower time goes. So it is as God is inviting us to go explore. Not sure. Needless to say, I don't care if we're taking a ride to the Wicked Witch of the East's castle. Any kind of real navigation in the future that and I'm going to stop even saying the elites or higher ups or militaries, because it's going to be in the hands of something quantum, a quantum intelligence that's probably already here, and that's going to be the only way to navigate, even if it's into interstellar space or through wormholes, much less the multiverse. Humans aren't going to be able to do it. Physiologically, we won't survive anything close to interdimensional travel, much less interstellar travel. We just won't. It's going to have to be a higher intelligence that does this. Think about that. Now, I was talking to Truth Seeker earlier, and he did say, well, Seven, you've got an imagination, but even yours can't wrap itself around the possibility for technology to assist man in going where no man has gone before, and I'm fine with that. I guess what I'm trying to dance around is the concept of us being obsolete, us being just anatomically, physically, physiologically incapable of what is potentially going to be next. The moon in different parts of the world, you know, I took a video yesterday of the moon out in the morning for hours and hours and hours and hours, like 6 hours, 7 hours. That was just after waking up. And somebody else mentioned that they've been noticing that their whole life, but they took a video at the same time as my video, and the moon wasn't even in, the shadows weren't the same, and other inconsistencies. Hey Yoka, empath indeed. I'm an anomaly. I'm a conundrum. I'm an enigma, and so are so many of you. Please don't forget that. Men in Britain are standing up and getting back their manliness. I appreciate that because, like I said earlier, you know, part of the downfall of society in many ways is when its men are too busy holding on to a man purse and their little man feelings and worried if everybody else around them is going to, mind if they step up and do man type shit. And isn't that so ironic? Because if the lights ever go out, which is my, realistic fear. Now, with the data centers and the grid being so old, even Trump himself made a little warning that the grid is going to go down and there will be blackouts. Heaven forbid there's a real blackout. And I can't simply be a man. And the low-life scum piece of shits that I know for a fact are out here now. I've never known it as true as I do now. If they can know that men aren't going to be men because they're too afraid or too worried what society is going to say, then we are truly fucked. I'll probably go live tomorrow because I've got a lot more to talk about, like Iblis. The Arabic word for the devil, or the straw man that we all feel, the need to cast off the yoke and to be able to escape the landmines, like the person referred to earlier. Seven, there's just one thing about you that's always held you back. Well, that's because I've always blindly ran through the minefield of life. And it's a minefield, not a your field or an our field. Time to start running through other kind of fields instead of mine, my concept of things, my wanting, my way. I handled it differently. I did the best thing ever. Now I've got pages worth of notes. What time would be a good time to go live tomorrow? I don't have anything to do tomorrow but eat and rest. I jemata, and share the experience. Well, I mean, and Mother's Day to all you mums. And happy Mother's Day, sis. And tell Mom happy Mother's Day. And my twin sister's girl, my niece, had a little baby. Her name's Eleanor, which is Sam Gamgee's daughter's name in The Lord of the Rings. So happy Mother's Day to my niece, too. And to all you mums. Talk about superheroes and having extrasensory abilities and stuff. You all do. But I've got 5 more pages of notes. So let's do this tomorrow. Let's really do. We'll talk about surviving the dark night of the spirit. If there's anything that I wanted to emphasize during this video, it's that a lot of us are transitioning again with whatever external forces and things in the environment, the food and the sky and the liquids and the rain and toxins and metals and people and and social norms and social highs and lows and everything. We need to realize that um, we're passing through this for a reason. We're gaining a bit more of a sense, along with empathy, of quite simply our responsibility, our higher calling. Knowing that we don't maybe know it yet, but that soon it will be revealed. Brother Sev, regarding a good friend is so close as saying sorry to the lady. Rhymes with Ramunda. No, Max is kind of lost. Nope, we're not going to talk about Max. Because I'm glad you brought that up. I can't engage of talking about anybody unless they're present. And I know Max, and he's a good man. And he's going through hell, as many people have. No, Max is kind of lost case, but our brother. Well, not Max? Well, you just put no Max. Nah. Well, I mean, here we are talking about the dark of the night spirit, the dark of the night soul. He'll be all right. He's a fighter. He beat cancer. He reminds me a lot of me in a lot of ways. Max? The other Max? You mean yeah. No. It's all good. You just, nobody's a lost case. And I hope that I've emphasized that through this video. A lot of things are going to want people to feel like a lost cause. We're hopeless. And then not able to pick up the guitar, or not able to pray, or not able to take an old man up to the grocery store, or not able to embrace themselves, or not able to have a clean slate. You get what I'm saying? We'll do this again tomorrow, folks. Look, there's hardly been anybody here, and now a couple more people are bouncing in, and I'm exhausted. But I think I'll call it. So hey, break out the box, everybody. You keep on thinking. You keep on feeling your own little truths, because they are your truths. And we'll pick this up tomorrow. Let me say a quick prayer. We were talking about heaven earlier, and maybe, just maybe, part of the technologies and what the governments are doing. Governments, I mean, they're just proxy. They're puppets. It's not even them. The overlords, whatever you want to call them. I think they're hiding us from maybe a space, a time, a being, an entity, a kingdom, the heavens. Who knows? And when we all feel like we're beyond hope, isn't it interesting when we're going through the deepest hell and the night of the spirit? Maybe that's our singularity. Maybe that's the special point of reaching a point where you're able to step out of yourself and see things from a slightly different perspective. I pray for a unity of spirit throughout all humans. It's not our fault that our languages got scattered. Greatness is greatness. And through our humbleness and our brokenness and our humility, may you give us a bit more of that wisdom and understanding and knowledge. In Jesus' name I pray. Selah. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I promise. It's the cat.